That is, fact or fiction, only you decide, today. Apollo 20 and the ship that escaped the universal flood. The Apollo 20 astronauts managed to see a citadel that appeared to be in ruins in the lunar area, and then they entered inside the ship left behind. The surprise was that there, inside the ship, they found the bodies of two humanoid beings, two of the ship's pilots, a woman in very good condition, an extraterrestrial biological entity, popular as the Mona Lisa, connected with cables to the ship, in a state similar to hibernation, and another being in a very deplorable state of conservation, of which they only managed to grab its head. The universal flood, the greatest destruction that occurred on Earth. The nave is 3,370 meters wide by 500 meters high. Ossia, which measures more than 3 kilometers wide and half a kilometer high. Inside it has different scenarios, and it becomes like a city. This ship is perched on the area of the moon, in the so-called Delbert-Issac zone, to the east of the Issac Gap, exactly at the coordinates latitude 18.5, longitude 117.6. This huge ship is discovered and photographed by Apollo 15 between July and August 1971. With the Apollo 17 mission in December 1972, the Apollo program was officially concluded. NASA had planned 3 more goals, Apollo 18, 19, and 20, but the military space agency announced the cancellation of the last 3 goals due to lack of financial resources. Like something out of an intriguing fantasy movie. This is the story made public in 2007 by the alleged former astronaut William Rutledge, who claimed that he participated in the navigation of an old and gigantic spacecraft stuck in the area of the moon. Surprising as it may seem, this tale is even more dazzling than one might think, since it concerns the very well-preserved mummy of a woman. Apollo 18 carried out an aerial navigation on the ship left behind on the moon, which had been recorded in the NASA photo AS-15P9630 of Apollo 15 in 1971. The Apollo 19 mission was cancelled due to technical problems. And in August 1976, NASA, secretly, launched the Apollo 20 mission from Vandenberg Air Force Base, California, in a joint US-Soviet mission. The crew was made up of 3 astronauts, William Rutledge, Leona Marietta Snyder, and Alexis Leonov. The Apollo 20 astronauts managed to see a citadel that appeared to be in ruins in the lunar area, and then they entered inside the ship left behind. The surprise was that there, inside the ship, they found the bodies of 2 humanoid beings, 2 of the ship's pilots, a woman in very good condition, an popular as the Mona Lisa, connected with cables to the ship, in a state similar to hibernation, and another being in a very deplorable state of conservation, of which they only managed to grab its head. This is the story that William Rutledge leaked to the public, also showing some videos of the Apollo 20 mission, in an account that he opened on YouTube, with the name Reiterative. The story of the mission: we entered the interior of the gigantic spaceship, and we also entered another triangular ship that was inside the huge ship. The navigation determined that it had to do with a very old mothership, which sailed through space at least 1.5 billion years ago. There were many warnings of biology within it. We can find traces of ancient vegetation in a kind of engine. In addition, we can find particular triangular rocks that emitted tears of a yellow liquid that apparently had some particular medicinal characteristics, and of course, remains of other solar creatures. We can also find remains of 10 centimeters dwarf alien bodies lying in a colossal network of glass tubes during the spacecraft. That network was called Moon City here on Earth, shortly after our return. But the enormous find, apart from the monster ship, was that of the 2 bodies, one of them basically intact. The moon city was also called Station 1, but it was so dilapidated that it appeared to be a network of tubes containing real space junk, full of scrap metal and gold pieces. Only one structure appeared to be intact, which we named a cathedral. We took pictures of as many pieces of metal as we can find, and of every part, where there were signs of calligraphy. The moon city appeared to be as old as the ship. I don't remember who named the woman the recovered body Leonov or me, but this is my description. Human-looking, female, 1.65 meters, with genitals, hair, and 6 fingers. Function: pilot, found with navigation gadgets fixed on the fingers and eyes. We had to cut 2 wires connected to her nose. Leonov had to cut off the gadgets attached to his eyes. Concretions of blood or biological fluids were spilled through the mouth, nose, eyes, and certain sections of the body. She did not own any clothes, spacesuit or apparel. The Apollo 20 astronaut was interviewed by the Italian journalist Lucas Cantamburlo. What is that ship doing there left on the moon? According to Rutledge calculations, the date of arrival of that ship to the moon has the possibility of being 1.5 million years ago. On the other hand, everything seems to point out that that transport ship did not land on the moon so long ago, but exactly escaped the disaster of the universal flood about 5,000 years ago, the greatest catastrophe ever on planet Earth until this very day. And exactly, the ship perched on the moon, near the Isaac crater. We are talking about a huge evacuation ship, the size of a city, with the ability to evacuate millions of beings. Another different thing is when and where that spacecraft could have been manufactured, since it could have been manufactured long before the date of the evacuation and the moon landing, and there is also the possibility that this ship could have been manufactured in the same Earth. There, on the moon, the users took refuge in the various bases that are all over the satellite, or they have now taken other ships heading to other places, to other planets. Other evacuation ships that left Earth directly transported their users to the planet Mars. Chaos was total on Earth, and despair was unspeakable. Several million beings would die irremediably, and only a privileged few would be evacuated to other planets. Evacuation ship users in relation to what kind of inhabitants were evacuated in these ships. We have the possibility of deducing that there were different species, direct descendants of the so-called gods, product of the union between human women and rebellious angels, and popular as Nephilim or idols. Furthermore, robotic humanoids similar to the Grey's colossal half-animal half-humanoid hybrids, product of the gene experiments completed by the gods and their descendants, the Nephilim, and all kinds of experimental beings, and furthermore humans, human men and women, descendants of the line of Cain, who had mixed with descendants of these extraterrestrials. One of those humanoid beings, descended from the gods or a product of genetic engineering, was Mona Lisa, the woman who was found inside the ship. She was 1.65 meters tall, had a reproductive system, and 6 fingers. In addition, in the center of her forehead she has a particular mark or third eye. That third eye of Mona Lisa could have different interpretations. It is possible that this third eye was connected to the pineal gland in her brain. It is possible that Mona Lisa had a microchip inserted into her head. And it is possible that when that woman died, the ritual hole was made in the middle of her forehead, so that her soul could come out and travel to the stars, in the same way that it was done in the most remote civilizations who inhabited the earth in the past. And it is also possible that all 3 options happened at the same time. We can also find a second body, basically destroyed, but we brought back the head. The skin was blue-gray pastel blue. The skin had some strange data above the eyes, and the front part. It also had a strap near the head, without any inscription. The cockpit of the mothership was full of writings, and was made up of long semi-hexagonal tubes. She is on Earth, Mona Lisa, and she is not dead. But I want to release other videos before telling what she went through afterwards. When William Rutledge was asked if he feared his claims might have consequences, he replied, "I am a whistleblower. What does NASA or the USAF have a chance to do right now? Blocking or suing me would be an acknowledgement. They have the possibility of commenting on deceit or fiction." And exactly, always according to Rutledge, this female Eve, Mona Lisa, and the head of the other companion, were transferred to Earth inside Apollo 20 for later examination in the laboratory.